All right, I'm here. I'm Asan, CEO of Scenario. I'm gonna have a conversation with Annie. She's a comedian. I barely know her, just met her recently. Why are we doing this? It's because for most people, it's financially, professionally, and emotionally difficult for people to build a good life. And I need to hear people's stories, like Annie's life story, because that helps us build a platform where people can explore their aspirations and see scenarios of what's possible. Let's go.
Hey, how's it going? Come on in.
All right. This is so nice. So Annie, we don't know each other very well, but I met you at the cafe and I thought, ooh, this is definitely gonna be interesting to hear your story, your experience, your dreams, because frankly, that's really important for people in general to learn about, because life can be exciting and difficult, and it's important for people to hear what others go through. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I feel so seen right now. Honestly.
That's
This is so nice.
Yeah, I feel seen too. Well, yeah.
I see you, Isan.
Wow, I see you too, Annie.
Yay.
This is too soon to cry, but
Your feelings are valid.
so all right. What I'd like to do here is I'm gonna guide us just a little bit, but we're gonna bounce around on some topics because from what I've learned, from what I listened to you at the cafe, it seems like you have quite a long non-linear path and you've learned quite a bit along the way, and I was just intrigued. Before we dig into anything specific, I'm curious, like, it's Saturday today. Anything interesting happened to you so far in your day?
Not really. I wouldn't call my day interesting so far. It's good that a Saturday is not interesting for me because my weekdays are so overly interesting that sometimes I need a day to be very bland or I'll go crazy.
Or you go crazy? Okay, so wait a minute. So what happens that you could share during your week where a bland Saturday is like a blessing?
So I'm an entrepreneur. I own a small business. So Monday through Friday, I'm pretty much just like going hard from 6 a.m. until about 7:30 p.m. every single day. Like talking to clients, responding to emails, managing. I did all the web design and updates for my own website. So I'm constantly like tweaking that, running my business from the back end. I'm also the only employee of my own business, so then I am working hourly during the day. So usually by the time it's Saturday, I'm just like, I am so tired. I can't move. And then in addition to what I do during the day as an entrepreneur, I then at 7:30 p.m. I change into street clothes and I go to a comedy club and I do stand-up. And that's pretty much Monday through Friday for me.
That sounds like a marathon.
Yes.
Every day.
Every day. Every week.
Is someone forcing you to do this? Or are you?
I did it to myself. I used to be an employee of other businesses and I just couldn't, I couldn't find a way to make enough money doing that to then be able to follow my dreams. And my hours, I used to work more like 50 or 60 hours a week. And it was just too much. It was too hard to then pursue stand-up. And stand-up is my dream and it's my passion. So I started a business in order to make my own hours so that I could be in a position to then go and do stand-up every single day.
Ah, okay, I see. And do you do stand-up during the week? But then does that include weekends?
So I do open mics every single night during the week, and then I save weekends for shows. I didn't have a show this weekend, so this weekend is like very relaxing for me. Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be a terror.
Otherwise, it would be like try to sleep as much as possible on Saturday and Sunday so that I could be sharp for a Saturday night or a Sunday night show.
Not tiring.
Not tiring.
No, it's just, a blessing. I'm curious. I bet a lot of people would be, because I don't know about you, but I haven't really talked to comedians. I mean, it's one thing to be able to watch a show and all that, but really to get into the mindset of how did they come to be, like the earliest memories of when you thought, maybe this is going to be my profession, or maybe this is something I'm going to pursue?
Yeah. So when I was really young, like I think maybe even as young as 9 or 10, I used to pretend that I was a staff writer on Saturday Night Live. And I would spend the week writing a sketch, and every Sunday or Saturday, I would turn the sketch into my mom. So
Okay.
that was a definite, like, I've just always grown up being a performer. I grew up being a child actor in the theater scene in Chicago. My mom was a theater director in Chicago, so I was in her shows since I can remember. And then I did a little bit of professional theater in Chicago as a middle school age through teenage
Yeah.
person. So I just always wanted to be a performer. And then specifically stand up and comedy. Comedy is just like me laughing or making somebody else laugh, just to me feels like such a beautiful, like I love it. Like the sound of somebody else laughing is like the best sound I've ever heard in my life. Like I can't get enough. It's like a drug that I can't get enough of.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to find a way where I could make that sound or give people that sound. It's just like laughing it's joy, it's a release, like it's cathartic, it's therapeutic. I just think it's like the best possible emotion. And if you think about it on like a high vibrational scale, like the emotions of love and joy and happiness are at the top, and that's what you feel when you're laughing, usually, hopefully. And I just wanted to find a way where I could share that feeling with others and also feel that way myself. And that's what stand-up does for me.
Oh, that's beautiful. So laughter is more beautiful than like a Taylor Swift song.
To me, yeah, like I will listen to somebody, like if I say something and somebody else laughs, it's like I'm in heaven for that moment. It's like all I want is for other people to laugh and for me to laugh with them.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, so you started quite young, like.
Yeah, I started
Yeah.
being a performer young, and then when I first moved to LA about 13 years ago, I was an improvised comedian, so I would do like improv shows where you're with like 8 other people and you get a word from the audience, and then you make up a show for 30 minutes, and
Yeah.
hopefully it's funny. Oftentimes it's not, because improv is hit or miss. So I did that for 10 years, and then I didn't see a way forward in that. Like, nothing was happening. Like, I wasn't gaining in social media followers or being cast in TV or film. And I find that stand-up is a lot more rewarding. Also, like, it allows me to write my own material. And I've always been, like, very into writing and being creative like that. So I just transitioned over into stand-up about, I would say, like a year and a half ago.
Okay, I see. So many years ago, when you were exploring comedy, the field in general, and then doing improv, was it difficult for you to? I don't want to put words here. I'm curious though. I'm wondering if you knew or had role models, like people that were in your circle, where you could see that, oh, this could be a profession.
I mean, not really. Like you see, you see like the famous stand-up comedians, like people who have Netflix specials.
Yeah.
And you see them, and you go, okay, it's possible. There are people doing that for a living. I don't really think there's a role model with improv, because improv is really not something that people ever make money off of. For the most part, very few and far between.
And when you were younger, like, did you know that? Did you know that, oh, you know what, I might not be able to make money from this?
Yeah, for me, like, comedy has never been about making money. I've never planned on making money from comedy. I just love it, and I can't stop doing it, and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So it's always been a part of my life, just for those reasons.
What kind of friends did you have years ago as you were? I mean, I imagine your friends would probably regard you as, yeah, you were always funny, or you're cracking jokes, or maybe you had an interesting perspective on life. Like, what kind of friends did you have? around you?
Yeah, I mean, all my friends are artists and performers. It's a very like eclectic group of friends. Like I have some friends who are magicians at the Magic Castle. I have other comedian friends. I have friends who do burlesque, like all kinds of different artists, musician friends. And I've always surrounded myself and been drawn to those types of people, like really creative,
Yeah.
artsy people.
Because they're creatives, so one thing that I get curious about when it comes to people pursuing the things that they aspire to, whether that's professionally or a certain lifestyle or maybe financially or something, is it easy for you and your friends to kind of imagine and dream about the kind of life that you guys would like? Does that come naturally? Is it like a muscle?
For me, no. I actually, for the longest time, always regarded comedy as just like a fun hobby that I was doing. And then I started meditating pretty recently, like within the last year. And ever since I started meditating, I started taking moments at home when I'm by myself to close my eyes and just visualize myself as a performer for a living, like making my whole life from that. And it was only from doing those meditations and visualizations that I was able to start to take myself seriously enough to start to think, oh my God, I actually can do this. This can be my career. You know, it's not my career yet. It's not the way I make money right now, but I now have finally taken it seriously enough to adjust every other aspect of my life to be in support of that I'm at some point going to be a professional comedian, and that will be how I make money in my career.
Ooh, every day you're meditating? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I try to meditate twice a day every day. It doesn't always go that well.
Yeah.
I didn't meditate this morning. I tell my coach.
Wait, you have a coach?
Yeah, so I do Vedic meditation, and when you do that, you often are paired with a coach who's like certified, and they just help guide you. Like at first, the first meeting with him, I just went over to his house. We meditated together, so he could show me like, here's how a meditation goes. I use a universal mantra right now. It's called So. It's a mantra that anyone could use. And then at some point, I'll be given my own personal mantra by the coach, and that'll be a mantra that I cannot share with anyone ever.
Oh, it feels sacred.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how did you, one thing I think about is like profession is one thing, school's another thing, or education in general, and then overall like financial well-being. But then the like one key area we like to think about, or I personally like to think about, is well-being in general. So in this case, I'm curious, how did you come to realize and then maybe research and then maybe take that step of finding a coach? Was it just out of the blue, or you researched?
Sort of. It was like I was feeling really. So I have struggled and do currently struggle, and probably always will, with depression. And it's just been my whole life. And I was just at a point where I was feeling really down. And it was because I wasn't at the time like actively doing comedy, because I didn't know how. I was like, I see this life that I want. I don't know how to attain it. And I started reading about meditating first. Like I started reading Joe Dispenza books about visualizing and meditating. And then it was so random because I was teaching Pilates at studios at the time, at like big studios. And one of my clients, who had been like a longtime client, came up to me and said, I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but I just got certified to be a meditation coach. And I was like, I felt like the universe had gifted me this person. And I was just like, I would love to work with you.
Yeah.
And then I started working with him and going with him to, there's a meditation gathering every Sunday at this like master meditation guy's house. And it's like he just lets anyone come. Like there could be 100 people there, and everybody just sits on the floor and closes their eyes and meditates in silence for 20 minutes and says their own mantra to themselves. And it's like beautiful.
Wow. And that's guided, right?
So it's the Vedic meditation isn't guided. So you just close your eyes, you set a timer for 20 minutes, and you say the mantra in your head to yourself. Before we all meditate together, usually like the leader person will talk about something like self-love or friendship or dealing with loss, like just a general topic that then sort of gives you something to meditate on if you needed something that day. But really it's just about closing your eyes and getting into your own consciousness and just being present for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Wow. So this sounds like it's definitely developed. You've definitely developed it into your own practice, into your own...
Yeah, and I also use it as a way to, like when I get nervous before going on stage, which I used to get extremely nervous, I will close my eyes and I will visualize myself having a successful stand-up show. And I find that the shows go a lot better when I am able to do that. And same with like my own business. I never dreamed in a million years that I would own a business. Never once. And I started visualizing it and meditating on it. And because it's like when you want something and you don't know how you're going to get it.
Yeah.
It was just like, I know if I was my own boss, I can make my own hours and do stand-up as much as I want. How the, do I become my own boss? And just like, I don't know, but I know that I don't know what the last step is going to be, but I know what the next step is. I know what the first step is. So I just started, okay, well, I could buy a reformer and I could have clients come over to my home and teach them Pilates. So that's how it started. I bought one reformer and I had one client. And I was like, okay, great. Now I'm going to have 2 reformers and 2 clients at a time. I just doubled my income. And now I'm at 4 and I have 4 people come over. And then I'm just adding hours to my schedule. Like, what do I need my income to be to pay my rent, to do stand-up? It needs to be this. Do the math. How many people do you need? And you just take that next step.
Okay, that's really interesting. I definitely want to explore a bit on your entrepreneurial side, but if we just take a few steps back, I really wonder if it's clear you're ambitious, right? And then you have a way of setting those intentions, visualizing it as you're describing. Where did that come from? Is that easy? Like, do you remember those first few times where you're pursuing it? Was it a little scary? Yeah.
I think it came from reading books written by Joe Dispenza specifically, because he talks about that a lot, just visualizing what the future that you want. Like I remember when I first started doing stand-up, I just was going to open mics and I had no idea. I was like, I don't know how you become a stand-up comedian. And there's this theater in Burbank called Flappers that does stand-up shows like every night of the week. And I would drive by Flappers and I would see the marquee and I would see the different comedians' names written in the marquee. And I just would stare at it and visualize that it was my name over and over. I love it. And then I started like just going to Flappers as a customer and asking people questions. How do you perform here? What does one need to do to be on that stage, have your name in that marquee? How do I do it? And I just started talking to people, and then people would say, oh, well, there's an open mic here every Tuesday, so why don't you come and do that? So I did that. Then at the open mic, how do I get on the stage though? Yeah. Well, you audition. Great. When's the audition? And then you just go the step 2. And then like I had this whole meditation that I would visualize myself inside the green room at Flappers for the main stage, not knowing what it looked like, not knowing how. And I visualized it for like a month. And then my first stand-up show was on the main stage at Flappers. And I got to hang out in the green room with all the other comedians before.
Wow. Okay.
It literally happened.
That's badass.
Yeah.
So I imagine, you tell me, like, I imagine from the people I talk to, that might be a little difficult for them to have the courage to, I mean, to imagine is one thing, like you're outside, right, of this place or an environment that you would like, and you're imagining your name on the board. But then it's another thing to seek that out and ask people, how do I make this happen? Was that pretty easy for you? Is that something that comes natural to you?
No, I used to be very afraid of rejection.
Okay.
Like very scared, and also very scared of what people thought of me. Will they think I'm funny? Maybe I'm not funny. Maybe I suck. Maybe everyone hates me. That's what I used to think all the time. And it would stop me from doing anything. I wasn't doing anything. And then I started allowing myself to be a little bit delusional and to say to myself, like I say out loud when I'm by myself, I'll say out loud, you're smart, you're funny, you're cool. People want to hear what you have to say. And then I start to slowly believe it. And I used to write on the mirror in my bathroom with a permanent marker every week, a different message to myself, like, you're cool, you should be a performer, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're funny, you're worthy. Just anything that would help me start to believe that I am and I can do this.
Yeah, so, and you'd see that every day.
Yeah, so
right?
if you write it on your bathroom mirror, you're brushing your teeth and you're reading, you are worthy, you deserve what you want. And then you start to go, you know what? I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And it's a constant, like, you know, everyone has their ups and their downs, and it's always a struggle. And sometimes I have to write myself a message on the mirror to remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. Or sometimes I'll go to post a video on social media and I'll second guess. I'll be like, what if this isn't funny? What if everyone hates me? And then I'll go, you know what? No. What if it is funny, and what if everyone loves you?
Yeah. There's a few interesting things there. That's really admirable. What if? What is for you, is asking what if, is that something that's like you fostered that, you got comfortable with, something natural to you?
Well, I think that a lot of people naturally, like, and people who meditate talk about this, like the ego, the voice, everyone has that voice in their head, that negative voice that says things like, what if this goes terribly wrong? You know, like even coming here today, I don't know you very well. What if I'm coming into this house and you're just going to murder me? You know, that's the negative voice. Or what if I come to this house, we have an amazing conversation, and we're become good friends, and you're this incredible person that I'm so thankful and grateful to be talking to, and what if it all goes amazing? And I think just switching, like when you hear that negative voice in your head, and just switching it to the complete opposite. So if the negative voice says, you know, you're not good enough, you go, I'm the best. Like you just switch it. What if I am? What if I'm good enough?
Did you grow up around that type of thinking, that type of reframe? No.
I grew up around not positive thinking.
Okay. and we can laugh about it, right?
Yeah.
Is there a person, either a person or something? For some people it's books, for some people, I mean, I guess depends on someone's what era they grew up in. It's either maybe a person or a thing or a book or a movie or something that kind of maybe sparked or reminded them that, hey, you can think positively about yourself, about what you want to be.
Yeah, I would say that's like pretty recent for me.
Recent?
Is the positive, the being able to, the feeling like it's okay to think positive.
Yeah.
Because I think also with positive thinking, there's like a fear. There's like, if I'm just positive with reckless abandon and I just fully believe in myself, then, you know, then I actually have to show up for myself. I actually have to do what I say I'm going to do. Because if you're negative, if you're like, oh, I'm going to fail, or it's not going to work out, then everyone's expectations of you are incredibly low. But if you're like, no, I'm amazing. I'm going to be a famous comedian. I'm going to be a successful entrepreneur. I'm going to do everything that I want. I'm going to buy a house, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then other people, well, they find it inspiring, but then they also have a much higher expectation of you. And then you actually have to wake up every day, get your ass out of bed and do it. And that, I think once I started like I made this rule for myself where if I said anything out loud to anyone ever, I had to follow through and I had to do it. So if I sit here and I tell you, I go to open mics every night, well, if I miss one night, then I've just failed you. And I failed your expectation of me that I created. Oof. So why would I do that? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show up. I'm going to choose to show up every day when it's hard, when I'm tired, when I don't feel good. Guess what? I'm still going to show up. Maybe I don't even have any jokes written. I'll stand there for 5 minutes. I don't care.
Yeah, which might be funny.
I'll do crowd work. I'll roast everyone in the crowd for 5 minutes. What's that shirt? That shirt looks weird. Next, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Because what matters is that I put on pants, I walked out my front door, and I did it.
Oh man, that's definitely like entrepreneurship. It sounds like it's in your blood easily. What did you do? I want to walk up to your experience starting a business, or even before that, the idea, the exploration, any mistakes. But before we go there, what did you pursue or study in school, whether formally or informally?
I studied screenwriting in school.
Oh, okay.
I went to film school. I, at the time, thought I was just really into the entertainment industry in general. And I thought at that time, I didn't have the confidence to pursue being a performer. I didn't think I was good enough, pretty enough, skinny enough, talented enough. I just didn't believe in myself at all. So I thought I should be behind, at least if I'm behind the camera in some way, I'll still be like a part of it. And so I studied that in school. I moved out here. And when I first moved out here, I was a professional script supervisor on film and television shows. I worked on many film and television shows as a script supervisor. I then switched over to being a camera assistant. I was in, what's it called? Local 600. I was a union second AC for a few years. Like clapping the slate and doing lenses and all that stuff.
For a few years? For
a few years,
wow.
Yeah. And then I was so unhappy. I was miserable because I would be standing, and I worked on like I worked on some big movies and some big shows like Netflix and HBO, and I was a part of the team that did the official YouTube broadcast for Coachella one year. Like I was working on big stuff. And I would be standing next to a camera and I would be looking at the performer, and I would realize I was standing about 5 feet away from who and where I actually wanted to be standing. And I was like, I am standing in the wrong place. And I quit everything without a plan, learned how to teach Pilates, and I was like, I just need a day job so that I could figure out a way to become a performer.
Wow. Okay, so those are amazing seeds that were planted.
Yeah.
So the moment that you quit, if you could share a little bit, was that how much of that was planned or you prepared, or was it abrupt?
Yes, it was actually a pretty crazy story. So I was on the set of an Amazon, was it a show or a movie? It was a movie. It was an Amazon movie, and we were filming at is it the Roosevelt? What's that famous hotel?
Yeah, I think that's
it's
the Roosevelt.
It's the Roosevelt, yeah. We were filming in the lobby at the Roosevelt Hotel. And all of a sudden, I felt really weird. Like something felt wrong, like in my body, like physically wrong. And I just calmly walked up to the medic and I went, hey, I feel kind of weird. And he looked at me, he turned white because my neck had started to swell and my neck was growing like this. It looks like there was a softball on the front of my neck. And what had happened was my thyroid had exploded inside of my neck. And my neck was rapidly filling up with blood, which then started to close my throat. So that was bad. So he was like, oh my God, you need an EpiPen. I was like, I don't need an EpiPen. This is not an allergic reaction. Had he given me an EpiPen, I would have had a heart attack and died on the spot. So I went, I think I need to go to the hospital. And they were like, okay, do you want somebody to drive you to the hospital? And I did the math in my head and I went, well, my car is parked at the Roosevelt. I don't live here. If I don't get a ride, what if I'm stuck in the hospital for like a week or something?
Yeah.
So I said, no, I'd like to drive myself to the hospital. So I just got in my car and I very calmly drove myself to the hospital.
Annie.
And I was then told at the hospital that no one knew what, at the time they didn't know my thyroid had exploded. They just didn't know. They were like, there's something wrong. They admitted me into the hospital. I was at UCLA. All the medical students took turns coming into my room and taking pictures with me because the condition was so rare. They said it was as rare as getting hit by lightning. So I was like studied by the UCLA residents.
Yeah.
Which
You were a
is
star.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I was definitely like in a Facebook chat at some point. And then when it was happening, it was closing my airway and it crushed my vocal cords and I lost the ability to speak.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember just sitting in the hospital thinking, if I get out of this alive, because I was also told that I might not live a few times because they were like, if the blood clot gets worse, it'll fully close your airway and you'll suffocate. So I just said to myself, if I survive, I'm going to do everything that I can possibly do to use my voice. Because I felt that it was as if the universe was like, well, you're not using your voice, so I guess you don't need it, do you? And I was like, no, I'm going to use my voice to make a difference in the world. And the way that I'm choosing to do that is through the art of stand-up.
Jeez,
and
Annie.
I survived,
Yeah.
and they got all the blood out of my neck, which was crazy because they had to stick a giant needle into your neck while you're awake like 10 times. Like over the course of a few days. Like horrible. And I got out, they fixed it. I don't have a thyroid really anymore, but that's okay. And I survived and I'm good. And I am never, ever going to do anything that I'm not passionate about ever again. I will die trying to be a stand-up. I don't care.
My God. Okay, let's take a moment. Like that is, yeah, you were not kidding. That's drastic. That's wild. That's
Yeah.
major. That's devastating.
It was crazy, but I got it back. Like you
Yeah.
never know what you have until you lose it, and just to lose your voice, to lose the ability to speak, is so crazy. When you're like as gregarious and outgoing and bubbly, I'm never not talk. I'm always talking. You know.
How long did you lose your voice that you were aware of?
It was about like a week and a half of literally you cannot talk at all because your vocal cords are being crushed internally.
Like, what words came to you? What words came to mind when you were laying there in bed for days?
I saw myself on a stage. I just saw
did?
myself on a stage with a microphone, and I just said to myself, I have to be a performer. Because if I had died then,
Yeah.
I would have died so unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Because I was so unfulfilled. I was so depressed. I was so miserable. I didn't want to be doing what I was doing. And I also didn't know how to do what I wanted to do. But I just kept thinking like, I have to be a performer. I have to speak to the world. I don't
Yeah.
know another way to put it.
Okay. I think I'm getting a better sense now. Like when I met you, I hate the word vibes, right? it's so LA. It's like, oh yeah, good vibes. But anyway, just to use that as a placeholder word, I had a feeling like, you are clear. Yes, it's pretty darn clear. Like you're social, you're friendly, you're smiley, right? But then there seemed to be a side of you where, it's driven. And you told me about you having this business, but it felt like there's something like almost like a driver in there, and I wasn't sure what. And I've seen that before, and sometimes it's the calmest people, it's the smiliest people that have gone through something.
Yeah, I mean,
Tremendous.
Being calm is actually a trauma response. Like usually when you're calm in a crazy situation, that's because you've experienced trauma and you become calm because it's a survival method. So you can just handle it. And then you freak out after. Like I didn't freak out when the neck thing was happening. I freaked out about a month later. I literally started crying one day and I didn't stop crying for like 4 days straight. I couldn't stop crying because it was a post-delayed reaction.
Yeah. You know, I keep thinking about that moment, those moments where you're in bed, and it was so easy for you to just say that you were, I don't think you used the word here, but I'll summarize, but you were visualizing you on stage.
Yeah.
And for some people, I think visualizing whatever it is that they are, it could be what they're scared of, or what they aspire to be or to do, right? Or the kind of life they have. Visualization can sound really simple, but it seems like it's kind of a muscle that you have. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's also just like allowing yourself to like giving yourself permission. Like, because when I was before all of this, like I don't think I gave myself permission to dream. But when you have like a near-death experience, you go, well, if I don't dream, if I don't follow my dreams now,
Yeah.
what was it all for? We're all gonna die,
Yeah.
you know? I hope I don't die anytime soon, but at some point I will be back in that same position where I will be facing my mortality.
Right.
But at least now, if that happens, or when that happens, hopefully not for like 1,000 years from now, I'll be able to say that I felt fulfilled
Yeah.
from the life that I led. And that was not true at that time.
Oh, Annie. Well, I mean, you got to make a lot of people laugh, so no pressure.
I hope so.
Okay, so, oh man, do you find with the people that are around you, whatever type of people around you, whether it's family or friends and acquaintances and coworkers and so on, it seems like it's easy for you to, I mean, given some of these, like the gravity of the things you've experienced, it seems like, yeah, you really want to, and you really do dream about the life that you want, the things that you want to pursue, right? Is that like a different language to some of the people in your life?
Yeah, it's a different language. And it's also like I'm learning the language as I go. Because
Okay.
like when I first started doing that, I would visualize like being on stage at Flappers, which actually now is like a very achievable small goal. But now that I'm starting to achieve small goals, my visualizations are, I mean, some might say crazy or delusional, but I visualize myself selling out Madison Square Garden. I've actually recorded my opening joke for when I sell out Madison Square Garden.
Really?
I have a
Okay.
recording on my phone of me introducing myself and walking out on stage, and here's exactly what I'm going to say to a sold out Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Because when that happens, I'm going to take out my phone and be like,
Yeah.
look at this. I manifested this.
Oh my God, when that happens, I think I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna
It's
cry.
gonna- I think I'm gonna lose it.
We're going to cry together.
Yeah, we can. I want to go to your show. That's what's gonna happen.
VIP, dude.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
You guys heard that? Yeah.
Some people might say that's crazy because right now I only have like 2,000 followers on Instagram. I only get like 100 views on a few videos on YouTube. I have no business dreaming
Yeah.
that big, but I'm giving myself permission to dream that big right now because that's the only way that I have a shot in hell of it ever happening.
Okay. Wow. Respect. Let's. Where do we go from here after all that? Let's.
Documented now.
Now I have to do it, don't I?
Yeah, it's documented.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to learn. I'd like to hear a little bit about. So a lot of this is like big vision and then endurance in the things that you've gone through, visualized. It sounds like you visualizing and the way you do it makes it visceral. And what I'm curious about is that something you feel every day, like different moments in the day?
Yes.
When you visualize something, your body feels the emotions of the experience as if it is really actually happening to you. And when you put yourself in that emotional, vibrational state and you live the experience as if it's currently happening, you allow your own consciousness expands to accept that that is possible. Because at some points in my life, I've been sitting in like a 1-bedroom apartment beyond broke. I couldn't even imagine paying the rent that month. And now I'm talking about visualizing selling out Madison Square Garden. That's insane.
Yeah.
But when you allow yourself to visualize it and feel, how is it going to make you feel? Joy, elation, nervous, like excited, all those feelings, you live that experience a little bit. And then your body starts to seek out like the path. The path starts to become clearer to you on how to get from here to there.
How to get from here to there. So like even before you said that, like that it is possible. And I guess that for some people, and maybe people in your life, I don't want to assume, but from my experience, yeah, it's hard for people to even get to that point of wondering like, yeah, that is possible, right?
Yeah.
It might be a negative talk that's like, nah, dude.
Because it's also scary. Like, also, I think about a lot, like, what I'm, I guess, sacrificing in order to follow the dream that I'm following. Like, I've had relationships fail because I'm going after this thing and I care more about this thing that I'm going after than I do a romantic partner right now. So, like, I'm potentially sacrificing my ability to get married and have kids, and stuff like that. And I'm choosing to bet on myself. And there's sometimes a little scared voice that goes, but what if you don't get your dream and then you end up alone and then you don't have anything? And you just have to say, no, I'm gonna get my dream. And whatever version of my dream I get, maybe I won't sell out Madison Square Garden, but maybe if I sell out, a big theater here in Los Angeles, maybe I get somewhere, even anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so happy. It's going to be completely worth it. And then if you're, when I worry about like, what if I never find a romantic partner? Because at some point I would love to also have love in my life like that. But I just know like once I get to where I'm going, whoever my person is, they're going to be there. They're not here right now. They're there. They're at Madison Square Garden waiting for me to walk on stage.
Preach. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how you articulated that. Did you ever, in whichever of those relationships, did you or did they, maybe they were curious enough to ask you, like, hey, what do you prioritize right now? Like, did you ever tell them?
Yeah. That was actually my breakup conversation from my latest relationship. He asked me what my priorities were, and I said my number one priority was stand-up comedy and being the successful comic. And he said his number one priority was finding a wife and having children. And we ended our relationship in that conversation.
Okay. Now that was really quickly the way you said that, but I'm guessing that was it very difficult?
So difficult. I thought that person and I were gonna end up together, but that was about 6 months ago. That was my latest heartbreak. But I've had a lot of them. Okay. But also, I think I finally realized that he did me a massive favor because he allowed me the freedom to go and do my dreams. And I will not, at this point now, I think I've learned my lesson about that. I'm not bothering with wasting any time on trying to be in a relationship of any degree anytime soon until I get to where I'm going. And I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Man, you really said a few interesting kernels there. Like your word choice, when you said version, like you have the Madison Square Garden dream that you are racing towards. But then you said, wait, whatever version, there could be different versions of that or different scenarios of that. So different versions of that. And what I've heard from people is sometimes, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this, sometimes when they think about a dream that they have, that they're, let's say even progressing on pursuing, that that the little perfectionist mindset comes in, and it's like, no, it has to be this
Right.
or nothing else.
Right.
Is that something you've heard too from?
Yeah, and you can't get married to a specific outcome. So like a big part of meditating and manifesting is detachment. You cannot be attached to a specific outcome, because if you are, it's almost a guarantee that it won't happen. So like when I say like Madison Square Garden, like, do I mean the literal Madison Square Garden? I mean, hell yeah,
Yeah.
I fucking love that. That'd be the best.
I'm going.
But I also mean the metaphorical Madison Square Garden of like, maybe my Madison Square Garden for right now would just be to go on tour. Oh my God, get to fly around the United States and
Yeah.
share stand-up with as many people in all different cities. That would be a Madison Square Garden moment to me right now. And then when I'm doing that, because I will be doing that, what's my next Madison Square Garden moment? Maybe it's filming an hour special and having it go on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's a Madison Square Garden.
Uh-huh,
You know what I
right.
mean? So it's like there's different versions of it, and I'm not married to any specific outcome. I just know that I don't know what the future is, but I do know I'm gonna just every day wake up and do stand up and be the most artist that I could possibly be. And wherever that takes me, it takes me. Like part of the reason why I said yes to you was because I met you because you asked our mutual friend for a comedian to be introduced to a comedian. Well, I love that that's how you see me, because that's how I want the world to see me, as a comedian. So if you said, let me film an interview with you because I see you as a comedian, yes. The
Yes.
answer is yes, no questions asked.
Yeah, fist pump.
Yeah.
Okay. You said something interesting there where a lot of people have experienced being broke. And you said several times that that's happened,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's a little different for someone like you because you're driven, you're honest with yourself, you have a big vision, and then you execute on it, you plan it, all of that. How did you walk up, or how did you go from moments of being broke to then eventually thinking about starting a business and then starting it out and then doing it? Like, were there certain things or tools or education you pursued to go from those moments of being down, feeling down, being broke, and then to where you are now?
Yes. So I started watching YouTube videos about finance and about money and about success. I started watching any video that anyone made who was more successful than me financially. And I started reading as many books on the topic as well as I possibly could, just intaking information. And the biggest lesson I learned from all that was when you are trading hours for dollars, you're at a massive disadvantage. You'll never, ever, ever achieve financial success that way. You can't be an hourly worker making an hourly wage, because there's a limit, there's a ceiling. And so I realized that as long as I was in that hamster wheel, you know, because teaching Pilates is one of a billion. I've had so many jobs. I've driven an Uber. I've waited tables. I've bartended. I've been a wedding photographer. I've been a headshot photographer for actors.
Wow.
I've filmed auditions for actors for money. I mean, I've done almost anything for money short of taking my clothes off, because I've always been just on this, please let me make enough money so I could finally follow my dream. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I realized that the only way to actually do that and put yourself in that position where you're in control of your own life is to own a business. I'm no longer trading hours for dollars. People pay to come to my studio. People pay me a monthly fee to be a member of my studio. And even though right now I am the only current teacher, at some point I'll expand my studio again. I will hire staff, fully replace myself, and I will no longer be trading hours for dollars. And that's the first time in my life that I've ever even been close to something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay. How, oh man, so many questions. How long is just like a proxy? It's not the best question, but like, it sounds like you put a lot of effort. It sounds like you were diligent about it, maybe even like regularly learning up, watching these videos. Was it every day? Was it like a couple times a week? Because you're a busy person.
Yeah. So at the point that I was learning and educating myself, it was before I started my business. So I'd say I spent about 2 years watching YouTube videos and reading as many books as possible.
Okay.
I joke that I like went to grad school for finance because I basically did. I put myself through my own syllabus of finance school.
Yeah.
And then at that time, I've been trying to be an entrepreneur since I was 20. I have started and failed at many, many business ideas. I have failed over and over. I have lost everything a million times already. So I had that experience because a fail is not really a fail. A fail is learning.
Yeah.
You either succeed or you learn. There's no fail. Fail is good. You want to fail. So I failed a lot. I educated myself a lot so that when I started this business, one, I said, this business will succeed. I just decided it's going to succeed. And I've just been like going after it with just such like a fervor and just not allowing myself, because I think my inner voice in the past when businesses have failed, I would just give up. Like, so I would hit a rocky part of the road and I would go, this is failing, and then I give up. But
Yeah.
I've hit many rocky roads with my Pilates business.
Yeah.
But instead of giving up, I said, no, we're going to fill in those potholes. We're going to drive right through. And that's what I've done every time.
Right. And then you celebrated with a rocky road.
Yeah. I mean, and now like my business, which started with $0 and 0 clients, has 370 clients and is worth 6 figures in
Wow.
less than a year.
Wow. What do your clients love about you?
They like that I have my own unique approach to Pilates, I think.
I have to imagine it's, besides the Pilates, like the practice, the workout, you know, the program that you've created. My guess is it's also something about you personally. Like, I mean, like to see you smile, like that's something that probably like brightens them up.
Aw.
Is that fair to say?
I hope so.
I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because I'm also like, I'm like a real person. You know, like when people, you know, I'm not the skinniest, most fit person in the world. I do work out every day. But like sometimes you go into a fitness establishment and everyone is like insanely fit. Like everyone has a 6-pack. Everyone's extremely hot. No one ever eats sugar. No one's a real person. And like, I'm a real person. Like I eat normal food. Like I love food. So I'm never going to like only eat kale or whatever. And I'm very realistic about working out. Like when people come to me and they tell me their goals, I try to give them like a really realistic answer. And I don't like try to inflate like, oh, you're going to be the hottest model in the world, 75-year-old woman. Like that's not possible. But I can give you mobility. I can give you balance. I can help you live longer for your grandchildren. Or like somebody who's younger coming to me, like, you know, I don't know if I can get you to look like Giselle, you know, Bundchen, the supermodel, but I could give you like your version of that. And I think people appreciate that. And I have people like at my studio, I have people from all walks of life. I have people of all ages. I have as young as 16 and as old as 80 and everything in between. And not a lot of Pilates studios have that big of
Range.
A range. And I also like, I've been able to meet people like where they are financially. Some people can't fully afford my prices. So I've been like, okay, what can you afford? Because I want this to be accessible to everyone, to you. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to look good. You know, you deserve to have a private training session and to have access to this. So I've been like able to work with all kinds of different people and meet people where they are and like bring them in and also show people like I think I give people permission to also dream about feeling amazing and looking good and feeling confident in their clothes, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like a huge differentiator. I mean, I've gone to a Pilates studio once.
Yeah.
And yeah, first of all, like if I just walked in, I saw, wow, there's a huge range of different types of people here. And then on top of that, you trying to, it sounds like it's part of your mission or part of your values maybe to try and make it accessible.
Yeah, because I've had other people, I've had people look at me when I was teaching at studios, like, because I was teaching at some fancy studios.
Okay.
I've had people look at me and judge me like I'm not hot enough to be teaching at this studio. And that made me feel like shit. And also,
Yeah.
you know what? I am, because we all are. We all deserve it. Every human being deserves to feel amazing about themselves. We all deserve it. And so I want, with my studio, I want it to feel like the doors are open. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you've never worked out in your life. You're welcome here. We accept you. We're going to give you something that you're going to have. Like, the ability to move your body is extremely important. Like, I see my dad, who's getting older, he's having trouble walking. I don't want anyone else to ever have trouble walking, ever. I want everyone to feel like they can walk, they can live their life, they can enjoy,
Yeah.
We only live once.
What does your family think about you?
Oh, I think they think I'm cool now.
Cool now? No, you were cool always, right?
Yeah, I think my mom has been really incredibly supportive of me doing stand-up and with my Pilates business. She's my angel investor. She's how I got the equipment. And I couldn't have done it without her support. And she continues to be extremely supportive of me now. But like, I admit, like, earlier on in life, I was a rebellious teenager. I didn't get good grades. I was a rebel in college. I was a train wreck in my 20s. I made a lot of bad decisions, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I, paid for all of them. But I also learned a lot, and I feel that it's all given me this person that I am now. And I am grateful for I'm grateful for all the trauma, all the bad experiences, all the mistakes, all the breakups. I'm grateful for every negative thing that's ever happened because it's made me this.
Oh boy. Sounds like you're a real human. Yeah, a badass one.
Yeah, I was hoping I would be a robot, but
Wait, why? Like,
because robots are perfect.
there's no perfect.
No, I'm just kidding.
Let's see, we have to wrap up soon. I'm
Yes.
curious to hear, so we've covered quite a bit in terms of life experience and hardship and different parts of life, and basically the different paths that you took to explore, to dream, to execute. For those who are maybe a little younger or less experienced, what are a couple things that you'd like to tell them?
I think the biggest thing is embracing failure.
Ooh.
Failure is, learn to see failure not as negative, as a necessary part of becoming your best. And you're gonna learn so much from every fail. You're gonna learn so much. And also, perfection, there's no room for perfectionism. Perfectionism is gone. If you want something, go for it, try it. It's just like when I try a brand new joke for the first time,
Yeah.
I film it and I post it on social media. Whether it succeeds or fails, I don't care. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it's all part of it. It's very important. And the minute I learned to embrace failure and to stop trying to be perfect all the time was the minute that everything I started doing started becoming successful.
Annie, this has been illuminating, amazing, and amen to that. Oh my God, that was deep, funny, and human. I know what we're gonna do for the next one.